The author Khalil Galbraith said in the book The Prophet that when you get married or when you come to a union, that you should not bring one cup to that union, but bring your own individual cups. Imagine the notion. You have your own cup that you drink from. I have my own cup. And then when we come together, we bring those cups and we bring those cups together, but we don't deplete those cups because we are drinking from separate cups. Imagine the notion of having one cup in a relationship and drinking from that one cup, both of you. If you were in a desert, you could get the gist of where I'm going with this. The cup would be empty and one of you would die first. Or one of you would have to sacrifice so the other person could live. The notion of sacrifice in a relationship is not new, but it's a difficult one, especially when you do relationship counseling like I do. It's very difficult for someone to actually say, I am willing to put myself behind so this person can move forward. Let me suggest this to you. The whole notion of love is about contemplating somebody else's emotions, somebody else's feelings, and understanding that that person takes precedence in the relationship over yourself. Now, I'm not saying that you should lose yourself or that you're not as important or that you should not be independent or that you don't have a voice or that you become secondary to that person. What I'm saying is, in order to promote the element of love within the relationship, you have to be able to put yourself last sometimes. Parents understand this, mothers understand this. They put their children first, except mothers who are not good mothers, of course. But mothers who have the maternal instinct understand that they have to put their children ahead of themselves in order for their children to turn out okay. The same is true of all relationships. In all relationships, you should put someone else before you, but that's only after you realize the value of yourself, the value that you have in yourself, and recognizing that that other person's happiness can only add to your happiness. I'm not talking about losing yourself, two different things here. Today, I want to talk more to you about relationships and how people end up wearing the pants in relationships. A lot of people are like, oh, she's wearing the pants, I'm not wearing the pants and I'm the man and she took over. Where did that come from? I mean, it's age old. I remember growing up and hearing it. But then again, my father was gone for 10 months out of the year and my mom had to run the household. So naturally, she had to wear the pants. She was the person in control of the money. She was the person in control, not just of the money, but the household and how her three daughters were raised and what they needed. My father was not there. So my mother ultimately ended up wearing the pants. When my father came back from sea and he came back home within a 3-month period, there was always fighting because guess what? He was trying to get those pants back. And it was a riot. Let me tell you, I'll tell you one time, another time about that, not right now. But wearing the pants in a relationship is a real thing. And a lot of people in relationships will complain or they'll acknowledge that the woman is wearing the pants, but they make it a big thing or they don't make it a thing at all. So let's examine why it happens and how it works and how it should work, right? So why do women end up wearing the pants ultimately in relationships? It's because of one simple reason. It's because you decided to give up responsibility or you refuse to take responsibility in the relationship. I've heard women say things like, you know what, he's not moving fast enough. He's moving too slow. I told him to do something. He never did it, so I ended up doing it. Or I asked him to take out the trash. It's trash day, and he's still in bed. And he hasn't taken out the trash, so it defaults to me. Yeah, a lot of responsibility defaults to people, but does that mean you have to take the responsibility up? Does that mean you have to do it? And then this is the answer. If I don't do it, it does not get done, Ingrid. It's not going to get done. If I don't take out the trash, it'll be stinking up the place. Nothing is going to happen. If I don't cook, we don't eat. If I don't shop and buy groceries, nobody has food. If I don't go get gas in the car, nobody drives anywhere. Yeah, all these are legitimate reasons why you have to wear the pants. But think about what you're doing when you choose to take on the responsibility that is someone else's. Think about what happens when that person doesn't have to take accountability for their actions. They become lazy, they become disinterested, and eventually they become resentful. Is that what you're dealing with right now? Are you dealing with someone who's resentful because you decided to take up the responsibility for them? You took it upon yourself because you recognize that if you didn't do it, they would not. It doesn't stop the resentment, and it doesn't explain why the resentment, but the resentment is there. And one of the main reasons the resentment is there is because that person wants deep down inside to be responsible. Believe it or not, ladies, they do want to be responsible. But because we are more responsible in relationships, for many of us, I'm saying not every woman is responsible, but because most women are the responsible part in the relationship because they're the nurturers and because they like to make sure that their homes are kept in a certain way, are run in a certain way efficiently, then the responsibility falls naturally to them. Remember, years ago, men used to be hunters. They weren't domesticated. They weren't like cats, you know. They didn't just sit around the house. Men were hunters originally, and they were the ones who went out and got the food. There's certain cultures in the world where men are still hunters, where they still provide for their homes, where they still bring the food home, and the women take care of the household all day long. In the society we live in, and in most societies, it's not just the American society, that's not the case. You have a household where both people are working and both people have the same responsibility. Some may have more responsibility than others because the role of motherhood and taking care of the children generally falls on the woman. There are some men who luckily have taken up this responsibility and take it seriously and also make a big contribution as parents. But generally, when you talk about the issue of wearing the pants, is because women have to wear the pants, or they're forced to wear the pants, or somebody else advocated wearing the pants. And then there's that rare occurrence where some men just don't want the pants at all. They would rather have a woman who's in control, who does everything, who takes care of everything. And those are the ones who were spoiled by their mamas. Let me come close. You're a mama's boy. And they know it, and the wives know it, but they cater to them because that's how the dynamic of the relationship works. You cater to the person so that you can get something. And then eventually what you're getting is not worth the value of what you're not getting. And that's where the resentment comes back in. How do you stop wearing the pants? And how do you not start wearing the pants? That's the question you need to be asking yourself. If you're recently married or you're in a marriage where you're wearing the pants, put the pants down. Redelegate. Give back the responsibility to the person whose responsibility it is. Just because someone is not doing something fast enough does not mean that that person is incapable of doing the task assigned. Just because there is not a quick response does not mean that that person cannot respond at all. But as women, or as a man who finds himself in this position I'm talking about, wearing the pants and the wife not, or wearing the skirt, I sure there's a thing of wearing the skirt, right? Where the husband is doing everything, the wife is not doing anything. I mean, we live in a world where that everything is equal. So if I'm saying the man is wearing the pants, I'm sure there are incidences where the man is also wearing the skirt and the woman is wearing the pants. But here's what I'm saying. If you take away responsibility from someone, if you refuse to let that person be accountable for their actions, you're also crippling that person. You're not only crippling that person as an individual, you're crippling that person in the role and the relationship that they're in. You will lose respect for that person, and that person will lose respect for themselves. And that's how a lot of marriages are these days. Someone lost respect for the other person because they don't show up. They don't do what they say they're going to do. They don't do what they say they're going to do when they're going to do it, or they're just unaccountable altogether. And you slide by year 1, year 2, year 14, and you're still here, and you're dealing with a lot of resentment. And the love has been minimized because the love has been replaced with nothing but the resentment. So how do you return balance? It is very difficult. It's very difficult because when you put someone in a position where they have to wear the pants, that person has to take control. Not only do they have to take control of themselves, they have to take control of the situation that has gotten out of control because the other person who was supposed to be in control has lost all sense of control or all sense of responsibility. So that person now that's wearing the pants has all the control. And giving up that control is not as easy as saying, you know what, I'm going to give it back to him. Because along with the control, there's also a sense of distrust. you're in control, and you are in control because you don't trust the other person to do what they said they're going to do or take care of the things that they need to take care of. So it's a catch-22. How do I give up control knowing that my husband needs to be the one who needs to take control of the finances or the children or whatever it is in the relationship? The point remains, what do you guys want together? It is not a one-person decision. It's a decision that involves both parties. Both of you need to come together and decide, based on the direction of your relationship, where do you want this to go? Do you want to walk away from it because you would rather find somebody else who gives you control? I mean, are you ready to take control? Are you grown up enough to acknowledge that you weren't in control and that you let a lot of things slide? There's a lot of different components here. One of the components needs to be accountability. The person who's wearing the pants and the person who's allowed that person to wear the pants, even though they've resented them the whole time. I'm saying there's a rare case when there's no resentment, because there's some people that marry the other person wanting that person to take control because that's what they're used to or that's what they want in the relationship. So some relationships work well that way and others do not. But the ones that do not work well are the ones where there's no buy-in, total buy-in on both parts. One or the other person is resentful and they want things to change, or they're unaware of how to get things to change. So how do you get things to change? Like I said, accountability. Taking accountability for the fact that the other person needs to take responsibility. In a relationship, there's such a thing as shared responsibility, even with parents and children. If you allow your children to slide and you allow your son or your daughter not to do the things that they're supposed to do, think about this. What you're creating is an adult that will go into a relationship and practice the same things that you've allowed them to slide with. It starts with children. Our young men need to be more responsible. Our mothers used to treat their sons and daughters equally. There shouldn't be a distinction between boys being allowed to be outside running around at night and not doing chores, and girls doing all the chores. The society needs to change to accommodate the changing times. We're no longer a one-dimensional society. We're the society where women and men's roles are becoming melded and blended. What one can do, the other can do. And of course, there are people out there going to say, Ingrid, what are you saying? Yeah, I'm not saying that I can do everything a man can do or that I want to. What I'm saying is that we need to shift in our relationships to accommodate the changes that our society has put on us. As society changes, we need to change. Those of you who are wearing the pants, it is stressful. It is not only stressful, it is a role where sometimes you feel that people are just ungrateful. There's a lack of gratitude associated with wearing the pants. Everybody doesn't just say, you know what, you're doing an excellent job wearing those pants, and you know what, we want you to continue wearing those pants. No, what you might be hearing is nothing, crickets. And that lack of gratitude is what causes resentment on your part. So there's resentment on both parts. Start today. Realize that the transference of power in a relationship is one that somebody has to co-sign. And a lot of times, the person wearing the pants has accepted that transference of power on themselves because they have become impatient, disillusioned, or fed up and frustrated with the fact that the other person refuses to do what they said they would do in the relationship. Yeah, I understand the struggle is real. I understand that what you're facing is something that is not new and is something that's been going on for a long time. But understand this. Change comes by deciding right here and now that you want it to change. Change comes right here and now when you say, you know what, I am going to decide to give them back the pants. Because by giving that person back the pants, you are acknowledging that that person is lacking in skills that you willingly took upon yourself to complete. Share the responsibilities. Relationships are supposed to be about shared responsibilities. Whether it's a married couple, whether it's an unmarried couple, whether it's a parent and a child, learn to share the responsibility. Because without sharing the responsibility, what you're creating is an irresponsible person. And an irresponsible person is not a productive person in society or in a relationship. Don't just think about what you're going through right now. Don't think about handling your problem short term. Think about how this problem is going to affect someone else. long term. Raise good men, raise good daughters, and then hopefully the whole dynamic of relationships will change. I know I'm hopeful. I know that I'm way out there because everything is not going to change just because I want it to change. But what can change is how you approach this situation today. Wearing the pants, you had to do it. Wearing the pants, it was forced on you. Wearing the pants, somebody else required it of you. But what did that cost you? What did you sacrifice in wearing that pants? And more importantly, what did it cost the other person? These are just thoughts. These are just my thoughts, and I'm sharing them with you. And I hope that you got something from them. And I hope you can begin to start thinking of how to break the cycle, a cycle of irresponsibility and a cycle of a lack of accountability. My name is Ingrid Felton, as always. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for visiting my YouTube channel. Please subscribe to my videos. Tell others about what I'm trying to do here. Encourage your friends to come and visit. Like my videos below. Also, your feedback is welcome. And again, thank you. And remember, change can come, but it can only come if you want it. Bye.